first of all, I'm watching WrestleMania 36 just because it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
There's no crowd. There's no real like energy around the ring. It kind of reminds me of our classes, but like we have tons of students always, like giving you somebody to react to. It's a completely empty room. There's no one out there but the ref, right?
Yeah.
And you could tell when the Kabuki Warriors came out because they opened the show that like Kairi Sane absolutely had no interest in being there. She was like checking her nails on the way down the ramp. She was pissed. Like completely understandable too. Like if you had the choice between doing all of the things you planned on doing for WrestleMania, a 4-hour show, no crowd, or waiting a few months and rescheduling so you could do everything you wanted to do in front of a live crowd, I think I would have postponed it.
Honestly,
In
yeah.
hindsight. In hindsight, I would have postponed it. I would have done a different kind of special because, like, they have a thing every year called WrestleMania Raw.
Right.
It's just a 3-hour special, and they do like all the rematches. I would have done something along those lines, or even maybe just offered something different. But I wouldn't have called it fucking WrestleMania.
Yeah, because it just didn't feel like WrestleMania this year.
Well, this is 2020. Keep in mind,
Yeah.
and they're 29 minutes in, and this is still the opening match. They've been going 15.
15 in front of no crowd.
Yeah, tough. They've got no second because, like, even when we have dojo matches where maybe it's someone with a little less experience, I'll stick someone in their corner so that there's somebody that they can feed to, something. And then we have 10 or 12 guys in the locker room to play off of. You have a crowd every week.
Right.
If we have a class where it's like no one came, it's going to be a little more tough. This is tough.
Yeah,
But
like
the
our class on Thursday, it was just the six of
6 or 7
us.
people,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a
So
very small
so
class.
say we decided to do a 6-man tag.
That
Yeah, you don't have a crowd, but you have 5 other people in the match to play off of. You've got noise, you've got racket. But the other thing that's weird about this so far is, keep in mind it's Alexa Bliss and what's her name, Nikki
Nikki.
Cross,
Yeah.
against the Kabuki Warriors, and it's the first match. They went 15, maybe almost 20. It's a title change, and the opening video. I mean, there's thousands of people in the hype video.
Yeah.
It's like WrestleMania, WrestleMania, WrestleMania. You see Lesnar, you see all this, Goldberg, you see Undertaker, you think WrestleMania, right? And this is weird too, because like this is only 4 years ago. All the people who are either in the other company or they're dead. Like that tells you how fast things move.
Yeah.
Like because there's Cesaro. When's the last time you heard that name? That's nuts.
Damn, when did he make the move over
It's
to?
about 3 years ago. He's been there a while.
Yeah, cuz
2021.
he was the surprise for.
Somebody. That's the formula over there. I
Yeah.
hate I hate saying it like that, but the most over you ever are in AEW is on your first night in the company, and then it just goes down because you blend in.
Yeah.
Because that's just how they do it, and that's not fucking sour grapes or me trying to like say something hostile or ugly. It's just that's just how they do it.
It's yeah.
They format their show so that everybody is equal. That's why you never see job matches. You hardly ever see any like David and Goliath matches, and even if you do, they're still 20 minutes long
I
because
think
it's
the only person they sent on like that monster, like always having people job out to him, was like Wardlow.
yeah, and those
Whenever
were
they
those were
were,
dark guys. Those were
yeah,
those weren't main roster guys. None of those guys had contracts.
yeah, they were all the people wrestling on AEW Dark, which they eventually canceled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they switched to Collision right on Saturday nights,
Right.
so they replaced a show with a show. I wouldn't call that a failure. Like Rampage, they canceled it because they've got 3 shows They only need two.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it's your least interesting of the three, keep the two that are working. And you don't need a 10 p.m. show on a Friday night that's not getting any interest because you're doing all that work for nothing. Don't do that.
Yeah, most weeks I actually skipped Rampage.
Do you watch
Would
wrestling every week?
I tried to? I was a lot better about it back whenever I actually had a job because I could pay
Yeah.
for subscriptions to actually watch stuff.
Well, you got
But
friends. You can borrow shit like that.
yeah,
Because I mean, after next year, you're just gonna need Netflix and Max because everything's gonna be on both.
yeah, I have a VPN, so I was using Triller and putting it in the UK so I could get AEW Plus.
Right on.
So not only would I actually get the shows, but I get the UK broadcast of it, which would
Triller. They used to use a different one before it was Triller. What was it? It was
they were using Bleacher Report in
I
the
remember because I
US.
remember using Bleacher Report, and then there was just one other one because they've jumped from service to service before, but I think I have all of those downloaded and I have pay per views purchased on all of them. So I
Yep,
never delete them because it's like, oh, you bought it and they let you keep it. So
may
if
as
I want to
well.
watch it, if I want to go back and watch an old pay per view with Punk on it or something, I can.
Right.
Nothing
Like
wrong with that.
yesterday, I actually took time and rewatched Osprey and Danielson from Dynasty earlier this year.
That's a good one.
I think that's probably my favorite match of the year. The other one may be Swerve and Danielson from All In.
Swerve and Danielson was good
It
too. I
was,
see. I liked the other matches on the other side of the card. Like I like the MJF matches. I like the because Osprey and MJF in the UK was really good.
yeah, their match at All In
Um,
was really good. Their
I think Osprey he needs to sell more, and I think in that situation MJF needed to sell less because he over dramatizes the knee injury every fucking night. Because if he's only wrestling once a month and he has like what you call a move set, part of his shtick is to oversell the knee. And it's like, well, last time he wrestled, he oversold the knee. This time he wrestles, he oversells the knee.
and the funny thing is, you're saying that, and I'm picturing it in my head, curling up with it, fucking
Screaming,
jumping around,
screaming
and
loud as shit. Yeah,
yeah,
he has a shtick, which we all do. But when you don't wrestle often and you have a shtick, it's like, well, you remember like if you have 10 matches in 10 years, they're a lot more memorable than if you were to have 100. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's why Taker's matches were so special because you remember them really well because it's like, well, the last time we saw him, it was a year ago.
Whenever Taker was one of the big attractions for WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
he would have a surgery and disappear, and then he would get in the gym for 6 months, and then he would have a match, tear something, go have another surgery, and that's his words too.
That's yeah.
Like that's really funny.
That was his age catching up to him. But I mean, all respect to him, he was still one of the bigger draws for
No shit. I
WrestleMania.
mean, yeah. Who do you think that is now? Who do you think is the one that sells the tickets for Mania this year or last year?
Last year,
Because you could ask the question: Are they? Is it a ticket sold because they want to see a certain person, or is it a ticket sold because they just want to go to WrestleMania?
I'd argue honestly we don't really have that kind of draw for Mania anymore. I mean, yes, the past 2 years we've had the whole Roman and Cody
Well, you
saga
you also you
building.
also had The Rock. Like you
Yeah,
knew The Rock was going to be there. That's a big selling point for some
The
people.
Rock probably sold a good amount of tickets
Well,
for
and then
Mania
Austin.
this year.
Austin was a big set because they didn't know if he was going to wrestle or not. They just had a feeling. And honestly, when it comes to guys like Austin, you just want to see him hit a stunner. And if he does, you're pretty fucking satisfied.
Yeah, we didn't need the match between him and Kevin
But it
Owens.
was fun to fucking watch,
Oh, it
though,
was so
right?
fucking fun.
Dude suplexing on the floor.
That
That's
was where I
when,
was like, oh, this is an actual match. He
yeah,
just took a suplex on the floor. Austin's here for it.
he's a
Cool.
bad motherfucker, dude.
Like what, fucking 19 years after
It
his
was
last
19.
match?
Yeah, 19. That's dope, man.
That is, yeah, that is insane. It's not anything I thought we were going to see again, but I'm so
Yeah,
happy that we got it.
you're
Just,
glad you get to see shit like that because it's like, well,
I
you
mean,
don't mind watching the same shit. Yeah, like I'll watch WrestleMania 19 over and over and over again.
that's one of my favorite manias.
I'll watch 17 over and over and over
Yes.
again. I still think that 17 is top two best WrestleManias ever. 17 and 30 are my favorites.
30 was a really good show. there were a couple of matches that could have.
Yeah, but you don't watch it for those. It's the matches that you enjoy. It's the
Yeah,
matches you really enjoy that you remember, but like you forgive the ones that you didn't care for, you
yeah.
know?
The Triple H and Bryan opener was really good. What
I
else happened on 30?
I love the concept of the triple threat every few years. Like
Yeah,
there was always this deal where it's like, hey, we have two titles. One of these matches has to be a three-way. It started with Benoit, and then it migrated to like Randy, Kurt Angle, and Ray.
yep. Two
When
years
Ray
later,
won, and then you had just I
two
mean
years later, it was Cena, Orton, and Triple H at 24.
24. Okay, yeah. Then there was I think it was 27 or 28 when it was uh Edge, Big Show, and Cena.
That was actually 25. That
25.
was the next year.
Okay, so like, well, you fast forward to 30, and then it's fucking Orton, Batista, and
Bryan.
Bryan, and then you had the triple threat with the ladies
Yep, at
at
32,
32, and it just
which
keeps going.
was surprisingly, I think that was the best match of 32 as well.
Charlotte's usually got the best match on the card. Like this is 38 I'm watching, or 36 I'm watching right now, and when Rhea and Charlotte go out, it's the best match of both nights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so as well.
Set
Even with
damn, the overthrow on the hot shot.
yeah, that
Um
Seth and Owens had a good match.
Seth and Owens was the one I was going to say. That was pretty much the second place spot. And I loved it when they were doing the. Do you remember like after they moved on from this? Because this is where they do NXT now.
Yeah,
This is at the Performance Center, right? They turned all these vacancies, like all this empty shit, into bleacher seats, and they built themselves an arena. So it's like the
yeah.
same venue that you watch NXT in now. It's like, damn, we did a WrestleMania here. People don't think about it like that. I do. I'm like, damn,
I
like,
mean, it's a great use of the facilities.
well, here's the thing. That just used to be an open room with six rings in it.
Yeah,
That's all that was. And then they had another room with six more rings in it. They just got rid of half of them. Because, I mean, what do you need fucking 12 for?
12
It's a
rings within
shitload.
2 rooms. That's a big fucking building.
It's a bit, yeah, I mean, it's a big fucking building.
That
Well,
is,
it's like the venue we just ran, Score. It's 8 basketball gyms, 2 soccer fields,
yeah, that
or basketball courts anyway. That's a big ass building,
I'd
dude.
say yeah, that's probably about the real estate that would be required for it,
That's a big
honestly.
fucking building. Yeah.
Big ass fucking
What
building.
I think's fun is like they did change up where they put their cameras here because where they have their hard cam, it's so that they can see the stage, right?
Right.
It's on the left hand side now where the giant like pirate ship flag ends up being.
Yeah.
They just rotated everything to the left to make the room look wider so that the ring would look larger. That's just one of those tricks of the trade. It's like usually when you have a wide shot, you can see the whole ring. They can't here, but they're improvising. This was something they figured out in like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, because the world literally shut down like just before this
Yeah, I
happened.
was I was supposed to be on a cruise right now. Like we had a
When
show I think it was like March 13th. It was the Saturday before this,
mm-hmm.
just a week before this. And Trump was president the first time and he sends out the tweet during the show is our second UWO show ever. And it was like all international travel has been postponed indefinitely. So we can't get on our flight and we can't get on our boat. So my cruise is canceled. Like that was like my honeymoon.
Oh shit.
I mean, like we were supposed to go on like a 5 night. We were going to like Mexico and a couple other different places, and like it all got shut down. So we had to postpone that for like 9 months. Yeah, COVID
Jeez.
fucked my marriage up. Like right from the start, at the beginning, we didn't get to do nothing.
That's
Well,
just
we were gonna go to fucking Mexico and have a great time, get fucked up and enjoy the ocean and the beach and do all that shit, and we couldn't even leave our house. It
yeah.
sucked. So yeah, we ended up going to Honolulu instead. Like 9 months later, had to go to Walgreens and do a COVID test in the drive-through. Like They give you the test through the flap where they give prescriptions. You take it and they watch you do it to yourself, which that's brutal. You put it back in it. Yeah, you got to do it yourself. Like, well, I remember the first one I took was in my front seat. They were like, okay, so just put your head up against the rest of your seat. That way you don't jump. And it's like, okay, just hold still. And they're doing their thing. And I'm over here like, because I'm a sneezer. I'm like, that's brutal, right? They're like, you got to do it yourself. So now I've got to fucking poke myself in the brain. And I don't want to. And I end up doing it. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, put it back in the tube, put it back in the resealable thing. I had to like seal it, and then I had to sign it. And after I sign it, I put it back in. She says, okay, you'll have results in 24 hours. I get my email. I forward that email to the airline. They give me the thumbs up. I can get on the airplane the next day. It was down to the wire. If I had COVID, I wasn't getting on the airplane.
Jesus.
No refund, nothing. My honeymoon's canceled. So luckily, we both were good to go, right? We get on the fucking airplane. We land. We get in a line. We're in Hawaii. They say, get in line and wait. We have to show them our papers like we're foreigners to prove that we have our... like, you had to prove you were healthy to get on the plane. You had to prove you were healthy as soon as you got off of it. Because if you weren't, you were going to your hotel to quarantine for 10 days. It's like our fucking trip is only for 6.
Fucking God.
5 nights, right? We were doing Monday through Friday. And that way we'd have the weekend on either end as a buffer to kind of like get rid of the jet lag and shit. We fucking go over there and there's people in tears because you can hear them say, yeah, you're going to have to go to your hotel and stay there. And then there's going to be someone to check on you because you had to download an app with a GPS on it to confirm where you were, when you were there. And there was there was curfews and shit on the island. It's a fucking island. If everybody gets sick, they all die.
Yeah.
It's like when the fire happened, the whole goddamn island burnt up.
Holy
There's nowhere to
shit.
go. So they were like, yeah, if you're not where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, someone's coming to talk to you. Like, you'll get fucking reprimanded or arrested. It was very serious at that time. It was sketchy as fuck.
I mean, we were freshly into the pandemic, so I can imagine that.
It's enough to make your asshole pucker.
Yeah, definitely. I just remember everything shutting down, and all of a sudden now we've got to wear masks and stay 6 feet
Where did you
apart.
work at the time?
Whenever it first started, I was working at Qdoba. I was working at a food place.
And it's a make it as you go food place.
Yes.
So like, there's already sneeze guards on everything.
Yeah.
How does that work? Do they even let people inside the restaurant?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Because everybody else was like at takeout only or drive-through only.
You
didn't have a choice.
Didn't really have a choice, no. And it, honestly, to me, it was like one of the most annoying things because I'm just like, if this is going on, then why are we even running the risk here? Like, why are we?
Mean, if you weren't a franchise, that business closes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you've got that nationwide money to run. I mean, you could shut it down for 6 weeks and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But it's the mom and pop places that all got fucked because they didn't have a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was no working around that.
All of those like family owned fuel stops, all the local gas stations. There's a spot out in Union City, just south of here. It's called Dairy Mart.
Yeah.
It's literally just like a drive-through burger and ice cream shake place. Like, they were the only game in town because no one was allowed inside. But there was a line down the fucking street because that was the only place you could get food. Like, out, it's a tiny little town. It's like one gas station, no restaurants, nothing.
Holy shit.
Like, I dated a girl that went to Union City High School. There was 13 people in her class. That's how small it is.
That's tiny. Small as hell.
My graduating class was 113. So like, there's a big difference, big discrepancy there. They didn't even have enough kids in their school to have sports teams.
Yeah.
Softball and basketball, and it was like everyone had to play or they didn't have a season.
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
crazy, right?
Okay, so wait, we opened up the match with Elias cracking Corbin with a guitar, and then they went another 10 minutes afterward?
He hit him before the match started,
Yeah,
and the referee did the whole "It's Mania. Do you want to go?"
it,
It's like, yeah, it's Mania. No, it's not Mania, and I don't want to go. Not on that one.
I really don't fucking want
I
to.
don't want to be here next year, maybe. That's the thing. You watch them come down the ramp. It's the ones coming down the ramp that have the boo boo face, the real bad boo boo face. You can tell they don't want to do it. The fucking worst offender is Lesnar.
I was about to say, I can imagine that Lesnar
He,
just
well,
looked
he
pissed the
wasn't
fuck
happy to be
off.
there. It was just part of his contract. But like, he still does the favor. But I'm pretty sure his match and then Goldberg and Strowman both their matches were maybe 3 or 4 minutes long apiece.
Oh yeah, I know that the Strowman Goldberg match was
Well,
quick.
there's actually kind of a silly story about this. I don't remember if this is true or not, and it's been 4 years. But I was told that the main event of night 2 was actually the first thing that was filmed because Brock Lesnar was like, "Fuck that, get me back on a plane," and he was like, "Either we do it now or I'm not doing it," because he wanted to get the hell out of there. He wanted to get home before he got stuck.
Yeah, plus with his previous bout with
See,
diverticulitis.
he gets well. That's the other reason why like Roman wasn't on the card. He was
Yeah.
super susceptible to illness because he had chemo.
So I mean, by all means, the fact that they were taking care of themselves and putting their health first,
Man,
absolutely.
well, like you'll notice too. Like I think there is supposed to be a 3 team tag team match for the tag team titles,
Yeah, the ladder
and
match.
it's a triple threat because half
Yeah,
the people of each team couldn't be in it.
it was like it was supposed to be the Usos, Miz and Morrison, and
I have no idea who the third
I
team was.
can't remember for the life of me who the third
It
team
honestly
was.
might be a Hardy Boy. I don't remember. But yeah, it's crazy watching these clips, and it's like you see all the people in the hype videos, and then they go back to this tiny little room, and it always just kind of makes me grateful for what we have too, because like at the dojo, we're doing this every week, but again, there's people there,
Yeah.
and we have guests all the time. We have people coming in just to hang out, watch, friends, families. Why? Oh, remember when she bit this chick's neck?
Yes.
She bites her back of her neck like she's gonna take a chunk out of it. She's got all that fake blood in her mouth. Gross.
I. You did all that and built her up as this like just vicious,
Jesus
wild
Christ.
animal.
And now she's doing TikToks wearing Naomi's wigs. Shayna Baszler. That's dope. You remember Sarah Logan?
Yes.
Sarah Logan's on the TV. She was Valhalla. She don't do shit now.
No, she doesn't do a fucking thing.
No, I think she had a baby. I don't know. But I thought it was crazy how like they gave her one promo, they put her in a faction, and then they just stopped. They didn't even give her a chance. I do remember when Shayna went 4-0 in the chamber though. That was cool.
It was cool, but I feel like they could have done it a lot differently.
Well, they didn't even do that for Lesnar. He didn't get everybody. He got most of them.
Right.
But Shayna, yeah, she went 4-0 in the chamber. She beat everybody in that motherfucker. And there's 6 people in it?
Yeah.
So she beat 5 people.
Yeah, but the problem with it was they had her come out like third or fourth, and then she immediately just
Just
got rid of everybody in
wiped
the
them out.
ring.
That might have been the shortest chamber match
So then
then.
it was her waiting on the other two to come in, and like you should have just sent her out last and then
Yeah.
had her clear the fucking field.
Well, like it's like the it's kind of like the double cage. It's guaranteed you're going to be out there for a certain amount of time. But
Yeah.
if you know for a fact that there's 4 people and it's 5 minute intervals, you got a 20-minute guarantee, right? If the match is only 23 or 24 minutes long, that's going to let a lot of people down.
Yeah,
That's another reason why they were willing to have like 2 chamber matches on each chamber pay-per-view, 2 Hell in a Cell matches, 2 Rumbles, which is too much, but
I mean, I don't mind the two rumbles thing
I
because
get it.
men and women they each get their fair
I get
opportunities.
it.
With the Hell in a Cell pay per view in itself,
Yeah,
just
that should be one.
it ruined the entire concept of
Fucking Becky Lynch coming in on a semi truck. Why is she driving a semi truck?
Does she have the certifications to drive
I don't think so.
that?
Definitely not. No, you know what would make more sense? Alternate on Survivor Series. This year they had two War Games matches. They haven't had a Survivor Series match
The actual.
since War Games. So instead of two, 1 year, do the men. Have them do a fucking War Games match. The next year, have the women do War Games. On alternating years, have a traditional Survivor Series match. You can tell a good story without the cage.
I will say I love war games.
Fucking love it.
It's a fucking awesome match, entirely awesome concept. I do miss the traditional Survivor Series
Well,
matches.
there's also the thing like Cornette says this a lot. I'm a podcast guy. I listen to all of them. I got a lot of free time and I'm by myself a lot, so I'm just listening to other people talk. Cornette says if you go out there and open the show with a ladies' war games and they do tables, chairs, trash cans, hammers, chains, all that shit, and those girls are able to survive it, 110, 150-pound woman's out there getting her ass kicked, flying off of a 15-foot high steel cage. She's crashing through tables, and then she wins. Why would the men go out there, do the exact same thing, and not be able to get up from it? It's not that women are less than, it's they've already seen it. Why are we doing it with both?
Yeah,
And why have all the weapons in the war games anyway? That's not the point. The
it's
point of
yeah,
war games is so I can beat the dog shit out of you with my bare hands inside a cage that you can't escape.
yeah,
I get the weapons. It makes sense for them to have them because it just adds something to the fun. But you don't have to have every single person who comes out crawl under the ring first.
and grab
Grab
fucking
just grab one fucking thing instead of five.
yeah,
Every war games in the last 3 years, someone grabs like 10 chairs and throws them in that motherfucker. It's too much.
two
Give me
tables.
one fucking chair, one table, maybe a crowbar, something like that to add to the match. But if they would dumb that down and focus on the match, and the high spots are great, but if you do it with less bullshit, the cage could get over.
Yeah,
That's like Hell in a Cell. Yeah, the weapons are a part of the fucking gimmick, but it's because it's the Hell in a Cell that makes it so serious. That's why when you have a regular cage match, they can't get the shit
nope. You use the
because
cage
you're in the
itself. The
cage.
cage is the weapon at that
Yes,
point in time.
use the cage. I just did a cage 2 months ago, and that was exactly what I said because the opponents that I had, they were thinking, we'll get two chairs, we'll get maybe a sledgehammer and a couple of tables. And I said, I will not do this match if we're going to do all that. What we need is one table. Everything else needs to be with the cage. And the irony of the match was they had all this wild stuff planned. I shut all that down. We ended up having a fantastic match, right? But here's the fucking funny thing. When the match begins, before the bell even rings, one person climbs over the cage, comes down, tears his ACL before the match starts. Like he's standing on the top rope. Like he makes it all the way up and over. He's standing on the top rope and he hops down. And when his feet hit the canvas, tears his ACL. Or no, I'm sorry. He blows his quad. Different muscle altogether. We
Oh,
thought it was the ACL when it happened. I said his knee's fucked. Nope, it was his quad muscle. And then within 3 minutes of the match, the other guy, he takes a power bomb and doesn't tuck his chin well, knocks himself smooth out. And then on my first shot into the cage, I go head first into the cage in a hard way. So 35-minute wrestling match. 3 minutes in, one of them's knocked out, one of them's on one leg, and I'm bleeding a gusher.
good God.
Blood's fine.
I
I
mean, yeah,
I can
blood.
I can do the blood, but like when the match is over and like I do the big moonsault off the cage, all that stuff's done. At the end of the night, I'm walking around with a smile on my face. I'm fine. One of them's in a chair and they got a flashlight in his eyes. The other one, they're asking him if he needs crutches. And I'm the one who looks like I got the fuck beat out of me. I look the worst. And the only thing I can say in my mind is, well, you should see the other guys. Like they they had a rough night.
That's
It was a great match though. You go back and watch it, and you're like, this is pretty damn good.
is it on YouTube?
It is. It's okay. So their angle is on Facebook. It will be on YouTube soon because they do Patreon.
Oh yeah.
There's a you got to wait a while before we can share stuff like that because out of respect for them, they'll profit with their footage before I can give away my free footage, and I don't want to piss them off by putting my stuff out there first. So, but yeah, it'll be online eventually. But yeah, it's a triple threat match. It's Ray Leon, Aaron Helms, me at HCW. I think it's called like No Escape or something along those lines. I forgot, but yeah, it's 35-minute cage match, and I take most of the match. Like I kick the shit out of those guys, but it's because one of them can't communicate and the other one can't walk. So it's like, well,
Guess you're just gonna take the heat, brother.
just well, I mean, it's not even that. Like I'm taking a lot of the heat, but like I'm putting them in the positions to hurt me. Like I'll set one of them up on the top rope and walk away. I'll punch the other guy, and then I climb up the ropes like I'm gonna escape the cage, and I'm telling him, I'm like, crotch me and climb. So he crotches me. That gives me time to relax, so that it gives him time to climb, so that he can get in position to do what he needs to do. And I'm like, okay, bump me, then bump Aaron. He bumps me. He's sitting. He bumps Aaron. Aaron falls. He can jump. But it's like, Bubba, I can't jump. And I'm like, you can fall, motherfucker. You're already up here. And that, even though we had to improvise a lot, the only thing the promoter tells me, Billy Simmons, he says, God, I just wonder what it would have been like if you were all healthy. Because it was a really good match, and you'll have days like that where it's like, man, that could have been better. And then at the end of the day, you're just grateful that everybody's healthy. In this situation, I'm like, man, that could have been better. However, they're fucked up. And in hindsight, watching the match back, that's pretty impressive.
I mean,
because Ray, he goes 35 with a torn quad, and the only thing I could say to him after we were done, I said, "You're a fucking warrior."
Like, all right.
Nash did the big boot, tore the quad, fell on the floor, couldn't get back up.
That was in 2002.
Triple H went 3 or 4 minutes. He tears his quad on the announce table, and he finishes the match at least. But fucking Ray, 35 is a long time.
Triple H did it twice. Tore quads mid-match and still finished that sumbitch twice, using all of his moves that require him to go down onto that fucking quad.
What was the other one? What was the other match?
So there was the 01 match with Benoit and Jericho where he tore his quad, and then he tore his quad at the New Year's Revolution match with Shawn against RKO.
Why do I feel like Kurt Angle was in that match? Was it a 3-way or was Kurt in it too?
The one where he first tore his quad was him and Austin.
Austin, not Angle. Okay.
Him and Austin against Benoit and Jericho.
Okay, I'm thinking of the match where Kurt Angle gets knocked out, and so do you know what the Spirit of 86 is?
No.
Okay, so it's when they put you on a stretcher and you leave, and then the match continues, and then you come back.
Okay.
So he's supposed to get knocked out, and they stretcher him.
That's SummerSlam 2000, Triple H, Rock, and Angle.
But he gets knocked out for real.
They went for that pedigree on the table. The table gives way, and Kurt just goes fucking face first.
So he's knocked out for real, and they're like, okay, it's time for you to go back. And he's like, go back where?
Stephanie's leading him out there, and
he doesn't know what's going on.
I've listened to a lot of conversations about that match.
Yeah, that
Triple H is telling him what to do, and they're like...
So yeah, he's calling spots for him on, like, that's what I'm doing with Aaron. Because Aaron's like, what now? Because, like, here's the finish, dude. No shit. Here's the finish of the cage match. I do the big moonsault off the cage. Ray's on the table. Ray moves. I eat shit on the table, and I get the fuck out of the way. And then Aaron gets up, and Ray's supposed to hit his running knee. 1, 2, 3.
You can't fucking...
I'm laying there. Aaron's laying there. Ray's laying there, and I'm on the other side of the ring, and I go, Aaron, get the fuck up. And he's like, what are we doing? I said, take the fucking knee. He gets up. feeds right to him, takes the knee like a champ. Beautiful finish, 1, 2, 3. But if I wasn't there to tell him, or if I would have got hurt doing the backflip, match is fucked. Like
It'd have been.
the whole thing that matters is the finish, and we nearly didn't have it. It was
Oh my
it was
god.
nuts.
Sounds like it was a smooth recovery at least.
It's because he's trained. He learns, or he learned how to listen. If you That's the thing I say to you guys, if you know how to listen, you'll know how to lead. And that motherfucker is a great listener. And I have never been in a match with him where he called it, but I know that he can because I've seen him work with green guys and all of his matches are good. He's one of those guys that's dead set in his ideas though. There'll be times where it's like, you you pizzaed when you should have french fried, man. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, did you notice when the match ended you didn't get much of a reaction? It's because what you did fell flat. You have to think about the ending in not in the sense of, hey man, this will make me look like a machine. It's, hey, will this get a reaction? Yeah, you'll look like a bad motherfucker if you pin him flat, but if you give him a little hope first and then get, the audience to react accordingly, so that like maybe you go bump and feed, right? It's like the kid's making a comeback on you. You shut him down, he goes for a quick pin. I'll give a fucking specific example. You're the baby face, I'm the heel. I've been kicking your ass for a few minutes. I go to the top. I'm going for the big elbow smash like Bret Hart. You roll out of the way. I eat the fucking elbow. I'm selling the elbow. I'm selling the knee. I feed up. You go clothesline, back elbow, drop kick. You go for the waist lock and you try to O'Connor roll me. 1, 2. I kick out big. And then you get to your feet. You go small package. But before you can roll, I stop you. And I pick you up and I give you a fucking brain buster. I gave you all that hope to make the people think you had it. There's a big difference between that and, okay, I'm going to put you in the big sleeper. We're going to work that. You get a clean break on the ropes. You go for your first clothesline. There's your tiny little hope. I duck that motherfucker, hit you with a lariat, lay you out flat. And then I scoop you for a brain buster. I already beat you.
Yeah, it's heatless.
There's no heat. There's no hope. There's no reaction. Now it's decisive, and if I'm a bad enough guy, I might get a boo out of it. They may be disappointed enough to where they boo me. But after that lariat, and if the crowd is flat and they're done, and they know you're done, the smart thing to do would be schoolboy me first. Well, then what? Bro, we'll get there. Add just a little detour to your ending. If you desperately want to just look strong, the only way I look very strong is if I give you enough hope to be somewhat competitive, even if it's a 3-minute wrestling match. In 1-minute wrestling matches, you can get a hope spot
A lot can be accomplished.
in minutes.
Yeah.
And you can also do the opposite. Like I've said before, if you got 5 minutes, if we really want to, we can spend the first 3 minutes doing nothing. I can jaw jack the referee, the crowd. I can jaw jack with you. I can fuck with the cameraman. We can wait until they say, "Hey, you got 2 minutes to go," and it's like, okay, lock up, top wrist lock, waist lock, reverse, uh, schoolboy, kick it 2, charge the pad, move out of the way, eat shit on the pad, hard whip, reverse, up and over, schoolboy, 1, 2, back to your feet, hard strike, big sell, body slam, slide off the back, schoolboy, kick out at 2, big boot, shut him down, call for a pile driver, 1, 2, 3. You can do that in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a whole fucking wrestling match.
And I'm learning that through our time in the dojo, and I've actually seen, especially whenever you and Kyle are working, the way that y'all can just dick around
In the tag team matches,
for
yeah.
so long,
Well,
just
what-
dicking around.
Well, like we main event. See, look, Daniel Bryan's on this. How funny.
Holy fucking shit.
How funny. You forget about all this shit.
Fucking Gronk.
He's got Gulak with him. Gulak will never wrestle again.
No, I
They
think he's
they made they
blacklisted
made him
now.
out to be the biggest asshole who ever fucking lived. That was some kind of allegation thing. There was no fucking big story about it though. They just let him go, and then he never said anything about it either.
Yeah.
What a strange pairing. On WrestleMania, you've got Drew Gulak and Daniel Bryan on WrestleMania. Is that not the strangest shit?
It's the catch wrestling style, I guess.
Yeah, they're they're
It's
they're just warming up and shooting on each other.
yeah, like
Well, who are they working? Sami
Sami
Zayn and
Zayn.
somebody. But there's three of them. So what the? Oh, I bet.
Okay, it's a
So
one-on-one
it's a
intercontinental.
one-on-one. Is it Sammy versus
Brian, I believe.
Brian?
Yeah.
You would think so.
I honestly couldn't even tell you that this match happened.
Oh yeah, I don't remember
I
this.
don't fucking remember this at all.
It's got the new Intercontinental title before they put some color in it.
I fucking hate that design.
I don't like it, but I like that they put color into because there's globes on either side of it.
Yeah,
They put some color in them, and it looks kind of pretty now.
it kind of like with the color on it. It reminds me of the Ruthless Aggression Intercontinental Belt, the Attitude Era.
The Dome Globe.
Yeah,
That's our RDW tag titles.
yeah,
Yeah,
those. And yeah, I just I if anything, I prefer the one that Cody brought back.
the
The
white one. See, the
yeah,
problem with that is they've got a female title for every male title now, and they're doing white straps for women.
yeah,
So like that particular belt looked best with a white strap. So like that's why they definitely couldn't bring it back now because then you'd have two identical titles. Which
yeah.
then you also have like, well, you've got a red universal title, a blue universal title. You've got all these different color straps that just look beautiful. I love them all. I'm a belt guy. I particularly like um mid card championships from the 90s.
Really?
Yeah, like I mean, look around. Like the United States title
Yeah, the WCW
um,
United
is
States.
the Sooner World Class All American title. That wasn't like a design. What happened there was before the Saudi belt makers started really contacting American independent companies, you couldn't get a belt for less than $3,000 domestically. So you would use a replica.
Right.
Everybody would just buy a replica off of shop.com for what used to be $250. Like when I was a kid, every belt, no matter what, $250 across the board. And then the commemorative titles are half plastic.
Yeah.
They were $99. Now, if you want to buy a cheap belt, it's like $350,
Yeah.
and the expensive ones are between $500 and $2,000. So, like, even today, if I was going to buy anything, it'd be a commemorative title. I'd have to buy it used. I'm not spending all that money on a belt that's not something I can either use or something that I was, like won in the past. But like the Sooner World Class All American title was a WCW US replica. Well, after I won it 5 times, I got a custom one. And then the Sooner World Class Heavyweight title was a Big Eagle.
Yeah.
So we got a Big Eagle custom done. And then like the brass knuckle title for RDW was an intercontinental title that you were talking about. The gold or the gold plates with the white strap. And yeah, I'm a big fan of mid card 90s and 80s titles. And the one that's real different right now is the Iron Man title. That's the NWA television title.
Really?
Yeah, so if you look at them closely, you'll see like like I even left like the cameras on either side because we originally wanted to go with this rule for that division that the matches were 10-minute time limits, but the match would continue, and if you beat him after 10 minutes, you didn't win the title. So title matches only lasted 10 total. So if the time limit passes and the match continues, yeah, you might beat him and earn another shot in the future, but you can't win the belt. So you have to get it done in 10. The problem was we did it on several several shows first 3 or 4 shows we did, like UWO shows, the crowd did not get it at all. They didn't understand what was going on. They didn't get what the timer was for. And then they would count down, like when the last 10 or 12, so they'd be like 12, 11, 10, 9. They'd get down to it, and they're expecting something to happen.
Right.
Nothing happens, but the title doesn't change hands now.
The title's just not up for
They
grabs
just don't
anymore.
get, so like the crowd didn't get it, so we ditched all that shit.
See, I remember, yeah, because actually just before I come to the dojo, I was at the show in June at Anthem,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an RDW Iron Man title match there. I
Mm-hmm.
can't even remember who it was between, but I remember you come out and you actually
Explain the rules.
explain the fucking
Because
rules.
they, at that point in time, they weren't getting them at all. The
Yeah,
crowd was just like, we don't get the timer. And
and
I
I was
was like,
just kind of
okay.
like, okay, I
So
get it.
you got 10 minutes to win the title. If you can't get it done in 10 minutes, you don't win the title. That's the deal. I would love to bring that back at some point. I just don't see it happening on live events. It'll definitely be like a dojo thing.
Yeah,
But maybe that'll be something we experiment with later down the road. Because like at the beginning of next year, it won't be a belt; it'll be a trophy. But we'll have a an open weight championship. Um, that could be a timed thing. I don't know. We'll come up with the rules for it, but the open weight tournament we're having right now, like the winner of each month gets to hold the trophy that we have, and then at the end of the year, whoever wins that tournament gets the big trophy, like the big nice cup. And I think it's almost a rib because when you win that bitch, like then you gotta keep it, you gotta hold it, you gotta take it with you everywhere you go.
haul it around.
Yeah, so like I remember, I mean, a few times in my life, I've had multiple titles, 3 or 4 at a time. I would have a second bag because I didn't want to carry the motherfucker. And I would keep that bag in my truck, in my vehicle, always lock the doors, but I would keep that bag. And then when I would get to the show, whichever show I was at, I would pull the belt out, put it in my luggage, and I'd take it into the show. But there would be times, there would be 5 or 6 belts in the back seat of my truck for months at a time just because
Jesus.
I didn't want to take them in the house. I didn't want to fucking carry them around. I wasn't going to carry them all to the ring. I
Oh
did do
no.
that at one show. I was just being a smartass. I went to it because there's this promoter that I didn't get along with years ago. His name was Brandon Groom. I love him now. We're good friends. But we didn't agree on nothing. And he would just tell me that I needed to just do what he asked. And I'd be like, you need to listen to me because what you're asking me to do makes no sense. Long story short, cooler heads prevailed. We spent a little time apart. We're cool. Love Brandon. Great dude. Great person. I'll say that. Like we disagreed on how to promote events. We disagreed on how to book shows, but great person. He's a good dude. So I must just reiterate that. He's a good dude. I love him. But we didn't agree on shit. So just to be a smartass, because he was like, well, like you act like you're so much better than everybody and you've done everything and like you have, you know, like so much more respect than everybody else. And I was like, I've never said those words in my life. I've never said that. I have no reason to feel like I am better than anyone, but if that's how you motherfuckers feel, I'll show you something. So I go out to my truck, and right before my music plays, I got 1 belt, 2 belt, 3 belt, 4 belts from my waist all the way to my chin. And then I had a 5th belt, and I hung it long ways on the bottom belt, so I had 5 of them in a vertical stack. And when I went to the ring, I made sure everybody in the building saw every single title that I had at the time. And they were for all different promotions. They were for all different, I think maybe 3 of them were Oklahoma, 2 of them were Kansas. And at the time, and like I take pride in this, none of them were for my home promotions. They were all for outside promotions that had put me over. Because I've always tried to not put myself over. Like I can tell you one thing wholeheartedly, I'll never win the UWO title. It's not going to happen. No reason for the promoter to be the champion. You see that all the time. No disrespect to people that do that. If you can trust anybody to be your top heel or your top baby face in your company, it's you. Because who's going to get it right? You.
Yeah, you want it
because
done right, you
you
do it
know
yourself.
what you want and you can deliver on what you want. I'm not going to be that guy just because. When I was the booker of MSWA 10 years ago, 11 years ago,
Jesus
the
Christ.
last thing I wanted was to be the Mid South champion. Well, the first thing that happened was the guy who was supposed to win the title, he decides he's not going to renew and get his license that year. And the guy who had been the champion, when creative changed hands, he decided he didn't want to work there anymore. Basically said he didn't want to work for me. And then, and I was fine with that. But there was also like a mid card title at the time, the Oklahoma title, that had to be vacated because there was another wrestler who had the title, and the next person in line, the next person who was promised that spot, he refused to put that guy over. So I was like, okay, if he won't do it, I will. So we vacate the title. We have a battle royal. I'm wearing a mask. Again, I don't want to put myself over. I'm wearing a mask. I win the battle royal under the hood. 2 weeks later at the next show, I lose the title to the guy who was supposed to win it in the first place. We take a little detour and we get back on track. Just trying to be selfless.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if somebody has to take charge and make this right, it needs to be the guy in charge, right? So like if I'm in charge, I'm gonna fix this shit now. They said you were promised the title, we'll make it happen. Give me 2 weeks to fix this. So he's a heel. And they say, well, why didn't you just have him win the battle royal? Because he's a fucking heel. And I wanted him to beat somebody that was over and got some steam behind them first. Let's tell a story. Even if it's a 2 week story, let's make some sense of it. At the time, MLP was nobody, but he was a funny comedy character who got the fans' support. So I had MLP win it first, and then I had this other guy, Buster Cherry, beat the ever living shit out of him and decisively beat him in the ring with heat. Got him over as a bad guy, got him back on track. He got a huge push out of it. We carried on. Well, then we've got this vacant heavyweight title, and I've got guys like not trying to just go on a list of name drops, but I've got guys like Hacksaw Duggan coming in. I've got guys like Abyss coming in, Rodney Mack, Vader. I've got Buff Bagwell supposed to come in, MVP, all these names, Mickey James, and I'm in charge of them. So like I have to try to put myself in positions to work with these guys because I'm the more experienced person in the locker room. There's a bunch of green fucking people. And it's like, well, if I'm going to be in the top spot working with these guys, I probably need to have this championship until I can find somebody capable of being in that position. At that time, we had to build a star. We didn't have one. So I spent the next 6 months with my two newest green students at the time. It was Prince Mahali and CJ Ward. I said, CJ's going to be our big baby face. Mahali's going to be our big heel. And while I had the title for 6 months, it's a show every other Friday. I'm building these guys to be my top heel and my top baby face. And by the end of that 6 month run, we put the championship on the heel, and then we carried on for another 3 months. And we spent those 3 months building up our baby face. And it was a triple threat to put over the heel, and then it was a triple threat to put over the baby face. So 9 months, I spent 6 of them with the title, and it was all to get to CJ winning the title. He ends up winning the title. Huge fucking reaction from the crowd. Great pop. And then he had a good heavyweight title run for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months. And then I brought in a new heel, a new bad guy, a new person for him to feud with. And it was a veteran by the name of Xavier. And before I knew it, I was able to convince all these other veterans to come back. Um, Guys that hadn't been wrestling. And I was like, look, you would be great here. You would fit in amazing here. Come work for me and we'll build you up and we'll do something special with you. And we did with just about everybody. And then before I fucking know it, the mall closes. So we lost our every other week. And then we're at the farmer's market doing the bottom floor. And we do about 6 or 7 shows there. We bring in Abyss again. I do a couple of death matches with him. And then the guy who stores the trailer, the guy who puts the ring in his garage, he decides at the end of the night one night, I don't think I want the ring in my garage anymore. And I'm like, well, where the fuck are we supposed to put it then? I don't know. That's just something y'all are going to have to figure out. So the promoter, Mike Crawford, looks at me. He says, if this is the way people feel, I don't even know if I want to do this shit anymore. And I said, it's one guy. It's not every guy. He says, I think we need to take a fucking break, though. We've been going hard for a couple of years. And I said, okay. I said, if you want to take a break, let's take a break. About 3 months go by. I ran 2 Mid-South shows on my own without Mike, who was the owner of the company. And no disrespect to him, he has died. He just told me, because we made a really good profit. We made great money on both shows. He said, look, if you're going to make this much money on these shows using my company name, he says, I need a cut of it. And I disagreed, and I said, look, I did all the work. I paid for all the permits. I did all this shit. I don't think that's right. And he goes, then you need to stop using the Mid-South name. And I said, okay, that's completely fair. We sit down, have a conversation, myself and Ricky Wingrave and a few other people. I think Burnham was there. And we said, well, what about Unified Wrestling Oklahoma? And I just asked Burnham, I said, has anybody used that name before? Is that something that's been, something similar? Maybe, we wouldn't be stealing a name from anybody else. There's not any other UWOs out there, is there? He said, as far as I know, there's not. So we ran with that. It was February of 2019. And we've been going hard ever since. I continue my conversation with Jacob Edwards on the next edition of Crow's Nest Commentaries.